How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's update news video we are looking at the brand new tank, which is in the form of the Joe Armadillo. We're also going to have a look at the tank trade-in event, whereby I'm going to let you know whether or not this is actually worth doing, should you actually take advantage of this event, and yeah, the reason why maybe you should and maybe you shouldn't. As far as the update news though, we will get straight into it. Of course, we have the Joe Armadillo Escalation Era Western Alliance light tank, which is a mouthful, I know. This tank is basically a light tank with a 16-shot autoloader. Yeah, 16-round autoloader that makes this tank the definition of small but mighty. It's ideal for supporting your allies' attack with steady damage while they reload. So that's Wargaming's description of the tank. We're going to get into the statistics and see whether or not it's actually as good as what it makes it out to be. Of course, this is a brand new tank. No one's actually seen it before. This is what it looks like in game. Looks very, very similar to something like the ELC AMX or something like the Vanguard ELC even 90, so you know, the tier 8 little miniature tank. This is basically the same sort of playstyle. You can see it kind of up against some of the other tanks in the game. Whether or not it's actually big enough, whether or not it's kind of slightly smaller, or just because the images don't really show off the size that well, I think that this thing is tiny. In terms of what it's going to feature comparatively to something like the Arctic Hiss, well, of course, you do get a significantly less alpha damage in your clip potential, if that makes sense, and also you are much smaller, so you have the better mobility to be able to turn quicker, and you're going to have a top speed of 82.5 kilometers an hour forward, which is much more like a light tank comparatively to the Hiss or the Arctic Hiss that you can see with those. As far as some other things, well, you do have 55% silver bonus, so you're going to be able to earn an absolutely crazy amount of silver basically with the Cold War game mode, as with all of them, and of course you do have 2,100 hit points, which is pretty standard for the light tanks within Cold War. Now, what's the main problems with this tank, and why is it not really going to come up to standard, I don't think, at Escalation Era, which is Era 2 within Cold War? Well, that's because it's got 182mm of standard penetration. So, for those of you that don't know what that's going to mean, well, you're going to struggle to basically pen anything that you come up against, and on the off chance that you do pen, one of the 16 rounds will do 90 damage, meaning that your total DPM or damage from one clip, so one round, if that makes sense, which takes 38.4 rounds a minute, so you're going to be able to deal, what's that, like 3,500 DPM? So damage per minute, 90 damage per shell, which is awful, and with the low penetration of both the standard and premium ammunition, that's going to mean that you're barely ever going to pen with any round that you're going to be firing in this thing, which makes it almost entirely useless unless you get round behind something, or unless you're just firing premium ammunition and having to aim at weak points. But when you've got such high rate of fire rounds a minute and the intra-clip or burst rate of 0.3 seconds, you're not going to be able to aim for weak points. So yeah, I don't think that this tank is going to be particularly great in terms of what it's going to be like. You have a 19-second reload time and then 0.3 second in between each of the 16, so you're going to be bursting your damage out in the case of probably, what's that, 16 times 0.3, so something in the region of 4.2 seconds or something like that to deal 1,400 damage. So yeah, it could be interesting, but I don't think this is going to be particularly amazing. You have 192 rounds, so you're going to run out of ammunition fairly quickly within 6 minutes of firing, or just under actually. And then you're going to have 535 meters view range and 610 meters signal range, so you'll be able to outspot your opponents, especially if you put in the advanced optics. And what I would say, if you are going to purchase this tank or play this tank or whatever you want to do, which is the less version of the Arctic Hiss in my opinion, from the statistics at least, and of course we'll have some gameplay in a video very, very soon on the channel, so if you want to see this tank in action, then I will do that fairly soon. But other than that, this tank is basically going to be a worse version of the Arctic Hiss, but you can play it more like a traditional light tank as opposed to the Arctic Hiss. So if you're more interested in that stealthy, remaining undetected, spotting for your team, getting round behind, out-traversing your opponents, then yes, this tank will be good. But is it as competitive? Then probably not, as the Arctic Hiss. But I think it will be fun to play, and certainly going 82.5 kilometers an hour standard, if you boost that with things like the advanced powertrain, then you're going to be able to go super fast in a tank like this if it's possible to put that equipment on. You may be seeing this tank going up to speeds of 95 kilometers an hour if actually you're able to put on the engine boost and fuel boost and stuff onto this tank. So definitely a tank I'm going to test out, definitely going to try it out with trying to get as fast as possible, considering this is the base speed of the tank. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a fun one, but definitely have a look at the price, which I will cover in just a second. And of course this comes with a new commander, which is the Scarlet 3D Hero Commander. So if you're interested in picking up a 3D Hero Commander for what I call an absolute bargain of 4,000 gold, yeah, then it's up to you. And of course, if you want to pick up Scarlet and Destro, it's 8,000 gold, which is something I would never pay for some commanders in a game, but there we go. And if you want to purchase the tank fully loaded, it is 14,260 gold, which is quite a lot considering you can get multiple tier 8 premiums for cheaper. But there we go. If you're interested in getting the new content within the game on the escalation era, then yeah, this is going to cost you 14,260. And of course, if you just want to wait the extra week so you don't have to purchase the Scarlet 3D Commander and the 30 days of premium, wait a week and you'll be able to pick it up for 11,000 instead. But of course, depending on whether or not you want it straight away off the bat of release, then yeah, that's kind of where the 3,000 gold is going to cost you. It's around £9 in terms of British currency, and probably like $12 if you want to get it a week early, if you are actually wanting to pick up the tank for cheaper. Now, let's move on. I think that's kind of done a little overview. I'm not going to go too in-depth with the Armadillo because obviously we can't play the tank right now. If I could play the tank, if I had played the tank, I could give my opinion slightly more. But I think we'll leave it for the video where we do a specific thing about the Armadillo. So stay tuned for that. But as far as the next bit, we do have the tank trade-in event, which are basically going on for 2 weeks. So from the 10th of August, which is tomorrow as of the recording of this video, if you're watching it on the day, then yes, the tank trade-in event will be able for you to pick up some tanks by basically discounting a premium that you give into the program. So say if you've got a tier 8 that you've had for ages, it costs you 10,000 gold. You can basically put 5,000 gold towards a new premium tank that is within the list. Now, what is the problem with this? Well, yes, you can basically put in a 50% discount into the trade-in event, but it's only 50% of the gold value that you're putting in. So, for example, say if I had something like 10,000 gold and it cost me 10,000 gold to be able to purchase the Chrysler K, for example. I don't know how much it actually is for the Chrysler K, but you get 50% off of that. So call it 5,000 for the value of the Chrysler K to put towards any tank that is on the list of premium tanks available for purchase, which of course is this one. Now, if I've got 5,000, I can put 5,000 towards any of these tanks right here that are on screen. Now, what does that mean? Well, it depends on what tank you're going to trade it in for. Yes, you can trade in the Chrysler where you get 5,000 gold towards 7,500 gold for an M6A2E1 Mutant, and it's only going to cost you 2,500 gold. So yes, that might be worth it for you if you're interested in picking up a one-for-one trade and paying a little bit of money on top of the price of actually trading in something like the Chrysler K for a Mutant. But of course, for the most part, this is actually a little bit of not a shady thing to do, but sometimes you don't really realise that when you're trading in something like 50%, you aren't getting a discount of 50% on whatever vehicle you're buying. So yeah, you might have put a whole premium tank that you already owned into getting the T32A, but realistically, you're only getting like a 40% discount on the T32A prototype. So yeah, you're still going to have to pay 6,500 gold for a tier 8 premium that often goes on sale and at 60% straight flat cost, which means that you're actually going to be paying more for trading in a tank that you already own so that you never ever play that tank again, just to get a discount on a tank that is basically in the game already and often goes on discount at 60%. So I think that, yes, this is brilliant if you want to trade in a tank specifically for another tank. You don't play a premium tank that you already own, something like a really old one. You might have 3-marked it, 4-marked it, whatever you've done with the tank. And then you've completely said, I'm never going to play this tank ever again. I just want a new one. Then yes, this program's for you. But for those of you who are looking to get a premium tank for a discount or somewhat of a sale or whatever you want to call it, then this program is absolutely a falsehood. You basically don't actually make your gold back. It actually costs you a whole premium tank just to get like a 30% discount on one of the higher tier premiums. Of course, yes, you could trade in a tier 8 for a tier 6 where you'll actually get gold back. But then again, you've just traded in a tier 8 for a tier 6. So take that to note when I'm talking about the tank trading event, as far as, the actual schematics or the actual system that rolls with it. So you will get 50% off any tank that you trade in. The list of tanks that you can trade in are on screen right now. So if you want to pause it right now, then you can just have a look, see if you've got any of them, and decide if you want to trade any of them in. So we'll just go through them really quickly now. So pause whenever you want to. And here's Germany. Then we've got the UK, Russia, or Soviets I should say. Then we've got France. And of course, each of them have a slightly different amount of tanks that you can trade in per one, because obviously there's not that many premium tanks for things like Czechoslovakia, and of course things like Sweden, stuff like that. It depends on what the tank is. And so, yeah, if you've got any of these and you want to trade them in, you're absolutely done with them, then maybe, yes, this is for you. As far as the tanks that you can actually purchase, I'll go through some of the key ones that you might actually want to take an eye out or take an eye of, with regard to actually playing them and them being actually effective. So T23E3 is a decent one, but is it worth 7,000 gold? Probably not, and it comes on sale quite quickly, or quite often. Then we have things like the T32A prototype, which is a novel autoloader heavy tank. So yeah, I guess it's okay, but it is 11,550 gold. The Sturm VK3601H is a tier 6 heavy tank that has a derp gun, a 105mm gun. So yeah, that is interesting. For those of you who want to pick up a pretty broken tier 6, then yes, that is probably the only German one I'd pick up, unless you don't already have the E25, at which point this tank is absolutely broken, shouldn't be in the game. Yeah, and if you want to check out a video on that, I think it was called Breaking the Game on World of Tanks console. Yeah, that was an interesting video that I made a while back. As far as UK, the ones you might actually pick up, well, to be honest with you, none of these are particularly that overpowered in game. I wouldn't really recommend swapping out any tank that you've got unless they're significantly worse, something like a Super Pershing, but even then you're only getting 50% of the value, which is going to mean that you're not really putting any money towards it. As far as the Soviets, ones that are of note, maybe you want to pick up things like the SU-122-44, which is a super high DPM, or maybe you want to pick up the SU-130PM, which will be a video coming out fairly soon on the channel, a little review to show you just how broken this Tier 8 Soviet tank destroyer is in World of Tanks console. Then for France, we have a couple of others. We have the EOC Even 90, which is a really good one. We have things like the Somua SM, but that is very, very expensive, and I probably wouldn't recommend actually swapping out a tank that you already own for this tank. It comes on sale at 60% fairly often. So yeah, I think the only one there for me that's screaming potential for swapping out another premium tank at tier 8 is probably only the EOC Even 90, that tiny little Vanguard or whatever you want to call it in game. Yeah, really, really good tank. Really small, great light tank. Definitely one I love to play myself. Japan, probably only one to note is the STA2, but then again, that one comes out on sale fairly regularly as well. So yeah, probably not one I'd want to swap out. Then China, you don't really have any here, to be honest. The Type 62 is okay. Type 59 is completely irrelevant now that the Type 59-2 is in the game. And no, you can't actually get the Type 59-2 in the Chinese trade-in event. The Alpine Tiger is meh, and it costs so much, it's definitely not worth 15,200 gold. And the Yahtzee is definitely not worth 13,000, although it is quite good in-game. Czechoslovakia, you can pick up the Skoda T40, absolutely not worth it. Sweden, Barracuda is actually a decent heavy tank autoloader at tier 8. Then the Stark STRV S1 is okay, but not worth 12,000 gold. Then we have the Polish, so you have the 50 TP prototype, which is good, but I think if you've completed the season pass from last season, you would have already got that tank anyway, and so you probably aren't going to want either of these. And then the mercenary tanks, the Absolutely Broken, which is, as the name implies, absolutely broken. Then we have the Turtle, which is also super good. The Trinity Mark II and the Boulder, I guess the only ones that I would really look at are these top two, the Turtle and the Absolution. I guess that those are all of the ones within this week's trading event. Of course, if you want to leave your own opinions as to the trading event and also this new light tank for Cold War, do you think it's going to break the game more than it already is with the light tanks in Cold War? Just waiting for those medium tanks within Escalation Era 2 to come out to be able to balance out some of these light tanks that are just running rings around the heavy tanks at that tier. Of course, let me know in the comment section down below, and a big thank you for watching this video to this point. And of course, if you want to check out more content regarding some guides and update news, then you can do that on the channel. And of course, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of all of this and whether or not you think I could improve some videos within this kind of series. How would you like me to change them? If you've got any thoughts, let me know. And of course, hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.